sincerely like to thank each and every one of you for being here, and I'll explain why you being here and you covering the stories played such a significant role in this case. I also wanted to thank Councilman Austin, who's standing back behind me. He is the council person in charge of the district where these crimes occurred, and from the very beginning he's been very supportive. Not a day didn't go by where he was calling us to find out what was going on with the case, so he's part of the team here, so we're happy to have him here with us. So with that being said, we're confident that the suspect wanted in connection with the recent crime series that you've been covering, targeting our senior residents, is now in custody. We hope our community can rest a little easier tonight. Thanks to the relentless work of our detectives, our patrol officers, and our lab techs, I am here tonight to announce that 39-year-old Melvin Earl Farmer Jr., a resident of Lynwood, was booked this afternoon.
Well, the chief just announced that the suspect arrested.
About 9:45 a.m. today, Long Beach detectives detained and transported a person of interest to our station from the area of Century Boulevard and Vermont Avenue in the city of Los Angeles. After a thorough interview, Farmer was booked for multiple charges that include residential robbery, rape by force or fear, oral copulation by force or injury, a death threat, an assault with a deadly weapon with great bodily injury, and the weapon was not a firearm on that. Farmer, the suspect, is currently being held in our Long Beach City Jail. He has a lengthy criminal history, which includes robbery and thefts. Additionally, a 31-year-old female resident of Lynwood was booked as an accomplice for her involvement. It is too early in the investigation to disclose further details of her involvement at this point. She is also currently being held in our Long Beach jail. A motive for the suspect's actions has yet to be determined, and the investigation remains very active and ongoing. And frankly, there's just a lot of work that still needs to be done. And again, I complimented the detectives and officers and the lab techs involved in this. Just amazing work over the last several days to get to where we're at today. Our detectives do expect to present this case to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office for their filing consideration early this coming week. I started off by thanking all of you for being here, but I really want to thank the community as well. It was your coverage of this story and the pictures that you put out that somebody out there saw the picture and said, I know this guy, and called us. And that's one of the reasons why we're here today. So that emphasis of the partnership between police and community, and you are part of the community as the media, working together to get somebody who has committed these crimes that this individual is accused of doing is critical. And you heard the list of charges. They are very significant and awful crimes that he's accused of doing. I'm extremely proud of the men and women of our department, not only for their efforts, but the compassion. If you can imagine with the victims that we're dealing with in these cases, for police officers, detectives, employees of this department, one of the toughest parts of our job is dealing with victims of crime. But when you get victims that are between the ages of their 60s and 90s, and you see the level of violence that was used against these victims, it's not only sad, but frankly, it upsets us. We were extremely committed to get this individual off the street and solving this case. But honestly, the real heroes, as we see it on this stage, are the victims in this crime. And I truly mean that. Their strength and courageous actions are admirable. Not only have they gone through this horrendous ordeal, but now they're going to have to go to court. Trust me, when I say this case, there's so much to do. There's a lot of investigation that still needs to be done, evidence to be collected and processed, but a big part of it is what we do with the victims from here on out, and making sure that they're going to be okay. That is a big part of our responsibility that we don't often talk about. I am going to take questions at this point. I will try and answer as many questions as I possibly can, but I do want to stress this, that our primary goal is to get this man charged and eventually prosecuted with what we believe he has done. And again, it's really important for us to make sure we got the right person, that we don't have the wrong person. So there's a lot of work to be done. And I know all of you are curious, our community's curious, and we'll give out as much information as we can. But keep in mind, our primary goal is to charge and prosecute the man who committed these crimes.
Chief, it was a very long interrogation. Can you tell us a little bit about the dynamics of it? I mean, what took so long before you were able to crack your book?
A lot of information, Dave. I mean, there's multiple crimes that have occurred, multiple victims, multiple scenes. We want to make sure that we're getting all the right information, and again, just collecting the right things so that the district attorney's office can get as much information as they need to properly charge and eventually prosecute this suspect.
And he cooperated the whole time? He never once said, stop, I want an attorney?
Not to my knowledge, but I don't know that level of detail at this point.
What about the DNA evidence? Was there DNA evidence that he left at any or all of the crime scenes?
We collected evidence of all kinds at each scene. I don't want to get into specifically what we have at this point. That'll all come out in the arraignment and then the preliminary hearing of everything we have. But I can assure you this, this police department, when we started seeing, you get one of these crimes, it's sickening enough, but you start getting what we believe to be a series. We are going to contain each scene. We're going to properly contain it, make sure we collect all the pertinent evidence, because at the end of the day, we're thinking of not only catching this guy, but making sure that he goes away for a very, very long time, so he never is able to do this to anybody again.
At this point, how many attacks and victims have you connected to this one person and to the complex, or at least just him?
Thus far, that we're aware of, we have at least 5. We believe there may be more, but that again is part of this investigation. And please consider, we just detained and arrested him today. There's a lot of work to be done here. But I can promise you this, again, we're going to do as thorough a job. And once more information starts coming out about this suspect, if there is anybody out there who is aware of any crimes that this suspect committed, whether it was a robbery, a sexual assault, anything out there, please contact our detectives immediately, because we want to make sure that he's held accountable for everything that he has done.
Chief, you get the call, and then can you take us through the arrest? I mean, did you go to his house? Did you follow him for a while? How did the whole thing work?
And was that 31-year-old woman, was she with him?
No, on the 31-year-old woman. But again, there's a lot of details that I don't want to get into at this point. I know you're curious. There's some things I'm really curious about, but I'm going to leave that for later. I just want to make sure that, again, we're just focused on charging and prosecuting this suspect.
What's her name in connection to the suspect?
That is still being investigated, again, very early on.
And can we get a mugshot of him to get a nice, clear picture of him so that if there are other victims out there, I think they'll try to recognizing him, because the videos are hard to see his face.
As much as I would like to show everybody out there his face because of what he's done, please keep this in mind. that we have other victims, potential victims, and even the victims we have, possible witnesses. And if we start showing his picture out to everybody, then when we're asking people to identify him in any certain way, that's gonna blow the case.
But is that surveillance video, do you believe that's him?
Yes.
Can you explain how that led in? Was it somebody who knew him that gave you a tip where he was? How did that lead to him?
I'm not ready to discuss that right now, as much as I'm tempted to, but trust me, I'm dead set on getting this guy charged and prosecuted.
Just say, let's look at
What
the video.
what would your message now be to the elderly women of the Long Beach community?
I believe that our police department, our employees have the suspect who was committing these crimes in custody. I always want anybody, not only that lives in this city, any city, to be vigilant, to make sure that, for example, if somebody knocks on your front door, that you don't open it if you're not expecting somebody, or you call somebody you know. Always being vigilant and very aware of your surroundings so you don't become a victim. So we just want to make sure that that continues day in and day out. But we believe we have our man in custody. So in regards to this crime, we are praying that he doesn't victimize anybody else.
Can you
What was
name
he
the
saying to
apartment
lure them to
complex that
open the
was
door?
at?
I heard.
Name the apartment complex that this took place at?
I believe we put out some of the general locations.
You did.
I think most of you know when we're talking about the victims of crimes. We don't get specific into names or specific addresses.
Okay.
At the end of the day, this is about the victims. And remember this, that the incident has occurred, but they're reliving it, and we don't want to make it worse for them than the experiences they've already gone through.
One more question.
Can you outline his criminal history? You said he has a lengthy criminal history.
From
Kind of crime.
from what we understand, multiple robberies and thefts.
Dating back to.
I don't have that information right now, but eventually we will get that out.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sincerely, for coming.
You got it.